Hey guys, let's get more news about Steelers, but first, don't forget to subscribe and leave your like. Asked and answered, December 24th. Let's get to it. Tom McCormick from Findlay, Ohio. Our historical averages, not winning in Philadelphia and losing on the road on Thursday night, proved out for a couple of our recent games. So, how have we done on December 25th in the past? Answer. According to the Steelers Media Guide, there have been 2 Christmas Day games in franchise history. In 2016, the Steelers defeated the Ravens, 31-27, and in 2017, the Steelers beat the Texans in Houston, 34-6. In the win over the Ravens, which clinched the AFC North for the Steelers and eliminated Baltimore from the playoffs, Ben Roethlisberger completed 24 of 33, 72.7%, for 279 yards, with 3 touchdowns and 2 interceptions. Le'Veon Bell rushed for 122 yards on 20 carries, 6.1 average, and 1 touchdown. And Antonio Brown caught 10 passes for 96 yards, including a 4-yard touchdown with 9 seconds left in which he powered through an attempted tackle by Eric Weddle and extended the ball across the plane of the goal line. On defense, ILB Lawrence Timmons had 10 tackles and a sack, and ILB Ryan Shazier had 10 tackles and iced the outcome with a final play interception. In the win in Houston, Roethlisberger completed 20 of 29, 69%, for 226 yards, with 2 touchdowns and no interceptions, while the Steelers' offense scored 4 touchdowns and 2 field goals over its first 8 possessions of the game. On defense, CB Mike Hilton had 6 tackles, 3 sacks, and 1 forced fumble. DT Cam Hayward had 4 tackles, 2 sacks, and 1 forced fumble, and DE Stephon Tuitt had 2 tackles, 1 sack, and 1 forced fumble. Tom Henson from Martinsville, Indiana. My wife and I are headed to town on Christmas Day for the game against Kansas City. Is the Hall of Honor Museum open on game day? We did the tour for the first time last year and loved it, but with this year's class I thought it might be worth a follow-up visit. Answer. The Hall of Honor Museum is not open on Christmas Day. Dennis Thompson from Nitro, West Virginia. How was taunting not called on Marlon Humphrey's pick 6? Answer. I thought the same thing as I was watching the play unfold in real time. It also would have been interesting if the call would have taken the touchdown off the scoreboard, because it appeared to me that the act of taunting began before Humphrey crossed the goal line. Jeff Mayer from Fort Myers, Florida. Not to imply that this would have had any impact on the outcome of the game, but how in the world was there not a taunting penalty on Marlon Humphrey on the Wilson pick 6? Answer. Maybe because it wasn't George Pickens. North Shore bars expect large Christmas Day crowds for Steelers game. Donovan Epps anticipates a busy Christmas Day on Pittsburgh's North Shore. As front-of-house manager at Bar Louie, he said the Steelers' 1 p.m. home game against the Kansas City Chiefs should bring in a good amount of fans, despite the holiday. Bar Louie will operate from 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. Wednesday, closing earlier than a normal day, which usually wraps up at 2 a.m. We're expecting a decent rush at the beginning, and then maybe a nice little rush after, Epps said. Most North Shore bars and restaurants that spoke with Tribliv plan to open on game day. Steelers fans always pack the bars to soak in the atmosphere before and after the game. Some watch the game from the bars instead of going into Acrisure Stadium. Epps expects Christmas Day to go well, despite being a little understaffed. Some were eager to work the holiday, hoping to pocket some extra cash, he said. We have a lot of staff members who actually live out of town, Epps said. Just down the street at Jason Aldean's Kitchen Plus Bar, General Manager Bobby Hornick said his staff members are prepared for a typical influx of Steelers fans. On Christmas Day, the restaurant will be open from 9 a.m. to midnight, which are the usual hours Jason Aldean's operates during a 1 p.m. home game, he said. Hornick said, however, that if it weren't for the home game, Jason Aldean's wouldn't be open because the staff typically is off for Christmas. It wasn't hard for Hornick to find employees to work the holiday. "We've got a pretty good crew," he said. "As soon as we found out the schedule, we communicated with everybody." Jason Aldean's typically staffs up, meaning they have more staff members than usual, for Steelers games, and it will be the same Wednesday, Hornick said. "We're hoping it'll be a typical Steelers game where it's a big crowd, lots of fans out and about," he said. "People need places to go on Christmas, and with other places closed, we think it should be a good day for us." For Abby Laratonda, store manager at Rally House North Shore, the Christmas Day home game is exciting. "Typically, the company is closed on Christmas Day, but because there is a home game, we're right next to the stadium, and we are just an awesome spot for fans to go before the game for gear," she said. The location on General Robinson Street is typically open until 6 p.m. Christmas Eve, and this year it will be open from 7 a.m. to 1 p.m. at kickoff Christmas Day, according to Laratonda. "We are going to be open for a few hours but still making sure staff gets time with families," she said. "The morning will just be a fun time for the staff," Laratonda said, "as there's going to be a potluck, and she's bringing gifts. I have a great team of people," she said. "I am giving them all Santa hats with their names on it, so we'll easily be identifiable." Rally House's staff size will be about the same as normal for a Steelers game, Laratonda said. "Everybody is really, truly excited to work on Christmas Day," she said. Steelers Justin Fields injury update ahead of Christmas Day game versus Chiefs. The Pittsburgh Steelers are looking to turn things around after suffering back-to-back losses. But doing just that is going to be easier said than done, with the reigning and two-time defending Super Bowl champions Kansas City Chiefs visiting the Steelers this coming Christmas on Wednesday. It is also possible that Pittsburgh will welcome the Chiefs, with quarterback Justin Fields inactive. Fields is reportedly dealing with an upper body issue, which has caused him to miss practices last week and be ruled out for last Saturday's meeting with the Baltimore Ravens. It's the same injury that puts his availability for the Chiefs game in question. For the #Steelers estimated injury report, QB Justin Fields, abdominal, was a DNP, while WR George Pickens, hamstring, was limited, Ian Rappaport of the NFL Network posted on X, formerly Twitter, on Sunday. The Steelers, who lost to the Philadelphia Eagles in Week 15, 27-13, and to the Ravens, 24-17, in Week 15 and Week 16, respectively, are still expected to roll with veteran quarterback Russell Wilson as the team's starter under center. If Fields gets ultimately ruled out for a second game in a row, that could mean Kyle Allen's elevation as Pittsburgh's chief backup quarterback for the showdown versus Kansas City. An absence this Wednesday by Fields would mean his next chance to play will be in Week 18 against the Cincinnati Bengals at Acrisure Stadium in Pittsburgh. It would be ideal for the Steelers to have a healthy Fields in Week 16, but in any case, the pressure on Wilson to deliver in such an important game is high. The Steelers are still atop the AFC North Division despite an identical 10-5 record with the Ravens, as Pittsburgh owns the tiebreaker over Baltimore based on a better record in conference games. Over the last two Pittsburgh games, Wilson has passed for 345 yards and 3 touchdowns with an interception on a 65.45% completion rate. Fields was the Steelers' QB1 in all of their first 6 games in the 2024 NFL season before Wilson, who dealt with a calf issue, got the go signal to assume the starting role. Over that stretch, the Steelers went 4-2, with Fields passing for 1,106 yards and 5 touchdowns against an interception, while also rushing for 231 yards and 5 scores on 55 carries. And you fan? What do you think of the situation of Justin Fields? Leave your opinion in the comments.